I've always been interested in looking at what it is to be human, and looking at us, what we are, how we construct our identities. I started by observing people in built-up and urban environments, drawing them and taking video and photographs for about 2 months. From there I made about 7 archetypes out of clay, miniature sculptures that represented the most common movements, body types and height variations. So I stripped the figures of character, of ethnicity, and tried to approximate some sort of representation of everybody. Universal icons or avatars that hopefully the viewer can use to project an idea of themselves. From there I learned how to make molds, and I popped all these people out. These combined to form a diorama which featured maybe 200 figures. I wanted to create pieces that were difficult to pin down, timeless, so the imagery could evoke the present, or 50 years past, or a couple of 100 years ago. I want them to be paintings of crowds without any people in them, to have this sort of implied stillness, and at the same time a sort of kinetic energy, as if a moment had been frozen, but because of all the tension within it, it could explode into violent movement at any given time. So what I've done here is I've taken a succession of photographs rapidly and I've begun painting them, and then I paint the next frame on top of the other and drag the paint. So the resulting images are a process of layering, leading to a sort of embodiment of time within the painting. The idea is that there is history locked into the painting somehow. In a major piece for this series, I used a video that was a few seconds long, and I painted each moment on top of the other. The first layer looked quite realistic, but with the application of the second, things started to move apart. The edges started to shatter and blur, and by the time I completed the 5th layer, all form had dissolved, and all that was left were impressions of movement and light traces. If you made an X-ray of this painting, you would actually see the 5 layers of people animating. They would walk across the canvas. Everybody has this intimate link with the skeleton, with the bone, what is hidden but gives us form. I didn't want to work with a real human skeleton. Again, I was interested in the imperfect replica of something. So I sculpted a complete skeleton in about half scale, based on diagrams in the old medical textbook Gray's Anatomy. The discussion of why paint realistically, or why paint like a photograph, has been around for a while. Yet you look at what medical students actually learnt from, and they weren't necessarily photographs, they were drawings. And some of them are very strange and distorted drawings. But despite their odd appearance, you can sometimes get more information into a drawing than a photograph. This extra information leads to the notion of hyperreality. So that's the way I proceeded to work with the bones. I looked at these 2-dimensional images and tried to construct what my impression of the skeleton was. There are about 12 paintings in this series, and to begin with they started as still lives with just parts of the skeleton. As I progressed though, I started to make little intrusions to these compositions by breaking some of the bones, or making shapes that were just bone-like. Because these were made out of the same clay, they would seamlessly enter the compositions. With each arrangement, I kept adding to these intrusive elements, which act a bit like cancer cells invading the paintings. And by the end, there's no bones left at all. There's only shapes that are bone-like. And it's sort of messing with our idea of natural order and certainly memory and our construction of reality.